Hello friends, we have started this channel only for the education, standard from 5 to 10. So share this as much as possible. We are starting with the SSC as it is very important, and we are taking a chapter named as gravitation. Of course, gravitation you have learned many times from standard 5 to 9. But in gravitation, you don't know actually what is the use of the gravitation. What is this use of this lesson? You have learned that the gravitation means nothing but just the attraction of the earth. To know the gravitation, first you know our scientist Sir Isaac Newton, because you know a story about him that when an apple fall from a tree, he wondered why the apples fall vertically downward and not an angle to the vertical. Why do they not fly off in a horizontal direction? Of course, instead of the Newton, if you was there, you thought of how to eat that apple. But because of the Newton, he find the gravity, the calculations of the gravity, and of course today's now we are sending the satellites to the space is because of this gravity, and because of this Newton who give us many formulas to solve the problems of our satellites. Today I am communicating with you. It is also the reason that we know about all the formulas of the gravitation. After much thought, Newton he came to the conclusion that the earth must be attracting the apple towards itself, and this attractive force must be directed towards the center of the earth. The direction from the apple on the tree to the center of the earth is the vertical at the position of the apple, and thus the apple falls vertically downwards. This is only the reason that apple fall vertically. You can see the figure also that apples from the tree falling downward. The force on the apple on the tree is towards the center of the earth, that is along the perpendicular from the position of the apple to the surface of the earth. Even figure can show you the gravitational force between the earth and the moon also. The distance of the moon is very high than our apple. Again Newton thought that the force of gravitation acts on the apple tree at a different height from the surface of the earth. Can it also act an object even at a greater height, much farther away from the earth, like for example the moon? Because apple falls, why the moon is not falling on earth? Can it act on our farther just like the other planets and the sun? This concept we have to learn. Of course, Newton is a very great scientist, you know about it. He gives the laws of motion, equations. His book is also Principia. He written everything in it. Why the planets moving in our universe? Newton, with his theory of gravity, mathematically derived the Kepler's law. The Kepler's were another scientist who also tell the same thing. In addition to this, Newton did groundbreaking work in several areas including light, heat, sound, mathematics. He invented a new branch of mathematics. This is what we call calculus and has wide-ranging application in physics and mathematics. He was the first scientist to construct a reflecting telescope. So you can say that Newton is a great scientist. In his honor, we give a name to a force. That unit of the force is Newton. You can say the force is 100 Newton, 200 Newton, like that. So by honoring to this scientist. Okay, now our problem is that why moon is not falling on the earth. Let's try one thing. Tie a stone to one end of a string. Take the another end in your hand and rotate the string so that stone moves along a circle as shown in figure also. Are you applying any force on the stone? In which direction? How will you stop this force? What will the effect? See, as long as we holding the string, we are pulling the stone towards us. That is towards the center of the circle, and are applying a force towards it. The force stops acting if we release the string. In the case, the stone will fly off along a straight line, which is the tangent to the circle at the position of the stone when the string is released, because that is the direction of its velocity at that instant of the time. You may recall that we have performed a similar activity previously, in which we have done the 5 rupees coin. So, force act on any object moving along a circle and is directed towards the center of the circle is what we call is centripetal force. Centripetal means center seeking. That is, object is trying to go towards the center of the circle because of this force. You know that the moon, which is a natural satellite of the earth, goes around it in definite orbit. The direction of the moon as well as speed constantly changing during this motion. Do you think some force is constantly acting on the moon? What must be the direction of the force? How would its motion have been if no such force acted on it? Do the other planets in the solar system revolve around the sun in a similar fashion? Is similar force acting on them? What must be the direction? So from this activity we have now to come to the conclusion that is some force acting on the moon that force the moon to go ground the earth. There must be a force which is exerted on the moon, and this force must be exerted by the earth, which attracts the moon towards itself. Similarly, the sun must be attracting all the planets including the earth towards itself. These all things first learned by the Johannes Kepler, who is a German astronomer and a mathematician. Even before the Newton, he started his working as a helper, called from the famous astronomer Tycho Brahe in Prague in 1600 centuries. After the sudden death of the Brahe in 1601, Kepler was appointed as the royal mathematician in the place. Kepler used the observation of planetary position made by Brahe to discover the laws of planetary motion. He wrote several books. His work was later used by Newton in postulating his law of gravitation. So we can say the Kepler's laws are used by the Newton. Kepler's laws says planetary motion had been observed by the astronomers since ancient times. Before the Galileo, all the observation of the planet position were made with the naked eye. There was no any telescope at that time. By the 16th century, a lot of data were available about planetary position and motion. So John Kepler studied this data. He noticed that the motion of the planets follows certain laws. He stated 3 laws describing planetary motion. These 3 laws are very important. To explain this law, you have to learn about the eclipse. Of course, eclipse is not like a circle. If a cone is cut from between the cone is cut between that, as shown in figure, then we can get an eclipse, where eclipse have two focals, f1 and f2. If there will be 3 points A, B, C on the circumference of the eclipse, then that A, B, C are the points from which we can get AF1 plus AF2 is equal to BF1 plus BF2 is equal to CF1 plus CF2. It means the addition, the sum of focals from its point is always equal. This you can do at your home also. If you tie a string between the two nails and revolve around it, then the sum of all the full string remains always same. So Kepler's first law says that the orbit of the planet is an eclipse with the sun at one of the foci. So one of the foci is the reason why the eclipse is made. In figure also you can say the elliptical orbit of the planet revolving around the sun. So this revolving around the sun, the position of the sun is indicated by S also. And the Kepler's second law says the line joining the planet and the sun sweeps equal area in equal interval of time. It means here the in blue area are always equal. The areas are equal and also the time, interval of time is also equal. So we can say the AB and CD are distances covered by the planet in equal time, that is after equal interval of time. The position of the planet starting from A and C are shown and B and D also respectively. The straight lines AS and CS sweep equal area in equal interval of time, that is area ASB and CSD are equal. You can see that from the figure. Also the Kepler's third law, the square of its period of revolution around the sun is directly proportional to the cube of the mean distance of a planet from the sun. Thus if r is the average distance of the planet from the sun and t is the period of the revolution, then t square upon r cube is equal to constant. We can call it as a k. Kepler obtained this law simply from the study of the position of the planets obtained by regular observation. He had no explanation as to why the planets obey this law. We will see below how the law helped Newton in the formulation of this theory. Because Kepler failed to give us the mathematical calculation. So Newton shows his universal law of gravitation. All the above consideration, including Kepler's law, lead Newton to formulate his theory of universal gravity. According to this theory, every object in the universe attracts every other object with a definite force. This force is directly proportional to the product of the masses of the object and is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Here in figure also you can see that there are two masses m1 and m2 which is attracted by force F with the distance d. So according to Newton's law, F is directly proportional to m1 and m2 and inversely proportional to its distance, square of the distance, so d square. If we put a constant g, then F is equal to g m1 multiply m2 upon d square. So where g is the constant of proportionality and is called the universal gravitational constant. The above law means that if the mass of an object is double, if we double the mass, the force between the two objects also doubles. Also, if the distance is double, the force decreases by a factor of 4, because distance is inversely proportional and it is square. So double means 2 square is 4. If the two bodies are spherical, the direction of the force is always along the line joining the center of the two bodies, because it is a circle. So attraction force we can consider as a center. So, and the distance between the center is taken to be d. In case when the bodies are not spherical or have irregular shape, then the direction of the force is along the line joining the center of mass, and d is taken to be distance between the two centers of the mass. It can be seen that the value of g is gravitational force acting between two unit masses kept a unit distance away from each other. In SI units, the value of g is equal to the gravitational force between the two masses. If you consider 1 kg kept 1 m apart, the calculation of g is 6.673 multiplied 10 raised to minus 11 Newton, and the unit is Newton meter square per kg square. It is first measured by Henry Temchin in SI units. The center of the mass of an object is the point inside or outside the object at which the total mass of the object can be assumed to be concentrated. The center of the mass of a spherical object having uniform density is at its geometrical center. The center of the mass of any object having uniform density as its centroid. Why did Newton assume inverse square depends on the distance in law of gravitation? Of course, he known by his Kepler's third law. He taken help of the Kepler's third law. Uniform circular motion, magnitude of centripetal force. Consider an object moving in a circle with a constant speed. We have seen earlier that such a motion is possible only when the object is constantly acted upon by a force direct toward the center of the circle. The force is called the centripetal force. If we take m is the mass and v is the speed and r is the radius of the circle, then it can be shown that the force is equal to mv square upon r. If a planet is revolving around the sun in a circular orbit in uniform circular motion, then the centripetal force acting on the planet towards the sun must be mv square upon r, where m is the mass of the planet, v is the speed and r is the distance from the sun. The speed of the planet can be explained in terms of period of revolution t. The distance traveled by the planet in one revolution is a perimeter, 2 pi r. R is distance of the planet from the sun, time is period of revolution, v is equal to distance travel upon time taken, therefore v is equal to 2 pi r upon t. F equal to, if we put 4 mv square upon r square is equal to r cube upon t square, because according to Kepler's third law, t square upon r cube is constant. So F is equal to 4 mp square upon r square. 4 mp square upon k is a constant. Thus Newton concludes that the centripetal force, which is force acting on the planet, is responsible for its circular motion, must be inversely proportional to the square of the distance between the planet and the sun. Newton identified this force with the force of gravity, and hence the postulated the inverse square of law of gravitation. So gravitational force is much weaker than the force in the nature, but it controls the universe and decides its future. This is possible because huge masses of planets, stars and other constituents of the universe. So here we learned about the introduction of the gravitation. By this introduction, you can understand why the moon is revolving around us, because of the centripetal force and the calculations what we have done now. And also Newton also proved the Kepler's law. Of course it will be used to you in your calculations also. The next lecture we will get that what we can take more importance from it. Till you do your homework and be prepared for our next lecture. Thank you.